Hello and welcome to Writing Women, the show where I talk about the women who exist in fiction and the people who created them. This week is the first book in the Trickster or Daughter of the Lioness duology, Trickster's Choice. This episode may be a bit more scattered than usual. As most of you know at this point, the United States has been in a period of upheaval for a while now, and I have been away from my house a lot. I would usually plug my Patreon at some point in the video, but right here up front, I would ask that any of my listeners instead go to the link I've put in the description to see the different ways you can support the Black Lives Matter movement instead. Now, for my personal history with this book, this is the first of Pierce's books that I read when it came out. I was so excited because I had burned through all of her other books so fast, and I needed something new, and this extended universe was everything I could have hoped for. Allie is the oldest of the Tortall heroines at the beginning of her story, which is a nice change of pace from the 11-ish-year-old characters that we normally start with. I didn't have my hands free to type up a blow-by-blow summary as I was listening to the book, but fortunately the summaries I was able to find online need very little tweaking, so let's get into a story recap. Alanna of Pirate's Swoop is the daughter of a legend. Alanna of Pirate's Swoop and Alo, the famed lioness, and the realm's second-in-command spy master and former king of thieves, George Cooper. At the age of 16, she is still searching for her place in life and pressed to do so by the people surrounding her. However, she is denied the only career path that seems eligible to her, that of a spy. Both her parents think it's too dangerous for their only daughter, who is also one of the nobility. Trying to prevent any more fights with her mother and to give her parents some time alone, Allie goes sailing. Unfortunately, some pirates don't know that raiding season hasn't started yet and capture her. Thus, Allie is sold into slavery in the Copper Islands. There she becomes part of the Balatang household. The family has to leave the capital soon after Allie's arrival because they were out of favor with the Isle's king, Oren Ridovin. They can't keep all their slaves and servants when going into exile, thus most of them, among them Allie, are presented to a matcher to find fitting new masters. That's when Allie meets the god Kiprioth. He strikes a wager with Allie after admitting that he is the reason she was brought to this household in the first place. She is to keep the family's children alive using her unique skills through the summer, and he'll convince her father to let her work as a spy. If she loses the wager, she is to serve Kiprioth for an entire year. To ease her way, Kiprioth also speaks to the Balatangs, although in the borrowed seeming of his brother, Mithros, telling them that Allie was his messenger. Allie leaves Rajmuat with the Balatangs for their mountain estate Tenair on Lombin Island. Her task during the voyage is to look after the two younger children, Petran and Elsren. She also gets to know the older daughters, Sarayu and Devasari. Their mother was Duke Mukwen's first wife, Sarugani Tamaida, while the younger children originated from his second marriage with Winamine Funfala. Quick-witted Allie soon realizes there's more going on in the household, especially with many of the high-ranking Raka servants than appears at first glance. The reason for this are the woman Sarugani's daughters, who are royal through two lines as Sarugani was the last of the old Raka ruling house. And it fits perfectly into an old prophecy announcing the return of a half-Raka queen to the throne of the Copper Isles. Upon their arrival at Tenair, Allie gets help from the local crows, who teach her their language and report to her about who comes and goes in the surrounding country. One of those crows, Nawat, changes into human form and becomes friends with Allie, which is apparently a thing that all crows are capable of doing. Shortly after the Balatang's arrival at Tenair, Prince Brunau, who is also out of favor with the king, followed them there, because he and their graces were old friends. He finds refuge with the family for several weeks, often riding with the ladies and openly flirting with Sarai, while also openly showing his disdain for the native Raka, even though Sarai is part Raka. Meanwhile, Allie gets in contact with the Raka conspirators, namely Ulasim Dodeka, Chanal, Lokage, and Fezgao, high-ranking servants in the household who watch over Sarugani's daughters, with whom she works together from then on to keep the family safe. The conspirators also help Allie through providing her with a bodyguard, Janai Dodeka. In the beginning, they are less helpful in the matter of getting a mage for additional protection. At first, Allie is told there isn't a mage, and later when she tells the conspirators that she knows there must be a powerful mage around, that it's not easy to convince this particular mage to help the Luaran, the white people occupying the islands. One day, assassins smuggle themselves into Tenair through a trader caravan, but are discovered by Allie, and thus the family can be brought into safety, while the assassins are done away with. Still, one of them nearly manages to harm the family, if not for Sarai, who steps in and kills the woman before she can kill Duke Mukwen. Allie berates herself for her negligence, but also stresses the point with her fellow conspirators. After some time, they manage to convince Ochobu Dodeka to come to the castle and help protecting the family as their mage. During all this time, Kiprioth regularly takes Allie to see important events in the Copper Isle politics, like the deaths of King Oran and Hazarin, as well as Dunovan's coronation, still a child under the regency of Imogen and Rubinian Jimigen. When the family learns of this, Brunel leaves because he is in royal favor again, promising the Balatangs to talk to the regents on their behalf. In one of Ali's dreams, she sees Brunel try to kidnap the young king Dunavin. He fails and has to flee. Not long afterwards, the Balatangs get a message from Rubinian asking them for help if Brunel should seek refuge with them again. Brunel does indeed return to the Balatangs. Although this second visit seems to be innocent enough in the beginning, he attacks the family in the night, trying to force Sarai into a marriage and thus plotting his own ascension to the throne through her. Mequen is next in line to the throne after Dunavin. In the following argument, Brunel wounds Mequen fatally and can only be stopped by Dove shooting him. Both men eventually die, as does one of the conspirators, Locage. After these events, the Duchess frees Ali and announces her to be part of the family. Ali decides to stay with the family after everything that has happened, because now she wants to help put a half-Raqqa queen on the throne. At this point, her father has managed to track her down and find her, and he wants to bring her home, but she refuses. They summon Kiprioth, and Ali tells him off, because the god knew that she would want to stay and help the family at the end of their wager. George returns to Tortall, at least this time with the knowledge that his daughter is safe. The first thing, and really the main and kind of the only thing I want to talk about, is the bad optics in this book. Starting with how Ali repeatedly points out to the Raqqa how they should go about their own revolution, and how they should treat the families of the people who've enslaved them and other people. And really the whole white savior plot in general. I've mentioned it before, but this is the first time it's been the plot of the entire series and not just the subplot of a single book. There are in-world justifications for why Ali needs to save all of these people, but I can't help but wonder why you would go to so much trouble justifying something when you could just write a darker-skinned character doing the same thing. This book didn't have to be about Ali. It could have been about anybody. Even Dove. Dove would have been a great main character for this book. Or, for a series about the daughter of the lioness, you don't have to make it about her going to be the key piece in an uprising of dark-skinned people against their colonizers. Ali is also kind of perfect. She's much like Kel in that she only has flaws that are basically compliments. She's so good at what she does that sometimes she becomes overconfident. She always knows exactly what to do and is hyper-capable, bossing around actual adults who have been doing this for a long time and are shown to be very capable until it comes to a point where we need to show how useful Ali is to them. At that point, they become dumb and she needs to tell them what to do. At one point, she suggests that they have the Raqqa warriors patrol the plateau, and they scratch their heads and go, "Why didn't we think of that?" But a little while later, they are expertly defending the family from attackers and secretly obtaining weapons for the resistance. Either they are good at what they do, or they need to be told how to be a rebellion by a 16-year-old. It's a little disorienting trying to have it both ways, not to mention extremely patronizing. This is a thing that fantasy authors constantly fall into doing, and I truly don't believe there's any malicious intent behind it, but it represents larger attitudes in real life towards certain countries and people. If the nice, smart white girl doesn't help them, they won't be able to help themselves. Now let's talk about the "some people prefer slavery" line. It is said completely seriously and framed as correct by the narrative. The Duchess says that some people prefer slavery to being free because at least slaves are guaranteed a roof over their head and food instead of being free and starving in the street. There's a little bit of equivocating about, bed slaves don't like being bed slaves, and, but only if the slave masters are good people like us. This is a false flag and is wrong, full stop. The Balatangs are shown to be very sympathetic, and Ali routinely goes to bat for them and some other families with the Raqqa resistance members, trying to get a rise out of them by asking if they will shed the blood of the good colonizers and slavers like this family when they take back the throne. Let's be completely clear about this. The Duke and Duchess keep slaves. It doesn't matter how nice they are to those slaves. They think it is okay to own people, and they think that those people that they own would prefer slavery to being free. But the Duke can't be racist. He married a Raqqa woman as his first wife. Okay, but he still profits off the colonization of these people and literally owns human beings. You cannot tell the victims of oppression how to deal with their oppressors because you do not know what it is like to live as they do. I love that George raised Ali to be a spy, and that completely fits with him being the one who largely stayed at home and raised the kids. It makes perfect sense that he would then turn around and make up these games for them and teach them stuff. Where I falter here is that George and Alanna tell Ali spying is too dangerous for their only daughter, and that sounds like a really hollow justification for their fight in the beginning, because Ali's whole extended family is involved in warfare in some way. Hell, one of her brothers is going to be a knight. There are ways to create conflict between Alanna and Allie without making it about Alanna and George wanting Allie to settle down instead of becoming a spy. I understand people's priorities can change when they become parents, but nothing on this planet will convince me that a woman who pretended to be a boy for years to defy social custom and become a knight instead of getting married like a noble lady was supposed to, would then turn around and tell her own daughter she wasn't allowed to be in dangerous situations because she was the only girl of the family and should instead think about something else for her life. It's convenient for the story, but not really in line with what we know about Alanna. Compare that to John, whose reluctance to let more girls become pages and reluctance to let his daughter become one specifically made a lot of sense considering how he acted in Song of the Lioness. Like, oh yeah, I definitely see why he is like this. I would have preferred to see more conflict like the one hinted at where Alanna was disappointed that Allie didn't want to be a knight, and Allie's jealousy about Kel turning into understanding that Alanna didn't love Kel more or anything, she just understood her better. That off-screen conflict sounds a lot more interesting to me than the kind of contrived one we got in this final book. This is also the first series Pierce wrote in this universe that would not make any sense at all if you had not read the previous ones. But that's largely because the main character is from Tortall, and so much of this book references Dane or Kel or Alanna's past exploits, and a lot of the stuff like Allie telling stories of Tortall to the Bolotang children, and they're just there as fan service and not to actually help a new reader understand what she's talking about. You can see this is just fan service at the point where Allie starts telling them the story of Dane, and the narrative cuts away after she establishes that this girl goes to a fair in Gala. A new reader saying, ooh, a first book in a series, let me check this out, will have no idea the importance of that. And we'll be going, okay, but what happened after that? Like, who was this girl who went to a fair in Gala? There's no line drawn between her and Dane in the narrative, so there's no way for a totally new reader to draw a parallel between those two characters when we see Dane at another point in the book. But an existing fan will squeal and go, oh my god, she's talking about when Dane met Onua. This is so amazing. Oh, they're talking about it. She's telling a story about it to the kids. This is so exciting. I'll say again, a lot of these problems could be fixed if the main character wasn't someone that had all of these ties to Tortall. If the main character were someone like Dove, who was leading her own people to revolution, we wouldn't have this issue of it not really being able to be separated from the other books in the universe. I thought Allie was funny and definitely acted a lot like a spoiled rich kid of a noble family who constantly thought about bringing up her bloodline to smack down other nobles and put them in their place. I really enjoyed getting to see more of the Copper Isles and learn about the expanded universe here. I liked that Allie recognized that she and her mother are just different people, and the reunion with George was everything I could have hoped for an emotional scene. I wish I had more positive to say about the book, but the tone-deaf slavery stuff and Last Samurai style white person must save the natives narrative are really just bugging me. I don't remember much from the next book, so it will essentially be like going into a new book next week. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to visit that link in the description for resources. Special thanks to my newest patron, Lord Butterbutt, and my regular patrons, Mary Dog, Brandybuck, Ms. Psycho, Amy Chu, aka The Doctor, and Bruce.